political or economic event. Radio Algeria International, our voice in the world.
This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
The President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, has inaugurated several strategic projects in Algiers as part of celebrations marking the 64th anniversary of independence and the recovery of national sovereignty, reaffirming the state's commitment to improving the citizens' living condition. The Secretary of State to the Foreign Ministers in charge of the National Community Abroad, Soufiane Chaib, is taking part in a working visit paid by the African Union High-Level Ad Hoc Committee on South Sudan C5 to Juba, South Sudan. The UN High Human Rights Council has expressed concerns at the escalation of violence in Sudan and called for the setting up of an inquiry to look into the situation in El Obeid in the central region of North Kordofan, which has been besieged for several months now by the RSF. Hello and welcome to Radio Algeria International. I'm your host, Mariam Barshi. The President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, has inaugurated several strategic projects in Algiers as part of celebrations marking the 64th anniversary of independence and the recovery of national sovereignty, reaffirming the state's commitment to improving the citizens' living conditions. The President inaugurated the National Algerian Digital Services Center in Mohammedia, the country's first facility of this kind, designed to strengthen Algeria's digital sovereignty through secure national data hosting, service continuity, the greater interoperability across public sectors. During the inauguration, President Tebboune said that progress and economic growth could not be achieved without digitalization, adding that Algeria had now officially entered the digital era. He added he would not dwell on the advantages of digitalization, but stressed that it would make citizens' lives easier by eliminating paperwork and enabling paperless communication between citizens and the administration.
التقدم والنمو الاقتصادي ما يكونش بلا رقمنة. يعني اليوم أستطيع أن أقول بعد إذنكم أن الجزائر دخلت في الرقمنة رسميا. ما نطولش فيما يخص المزايا تاع الرقمنة. بالنسبة للمواطن تسهل له الحياة تاعو، يعني كثير من المعلومات تصبح بدون ورق، وباتصال بينه وبين الإدارة تصبح بدون ورق.
The President said the economic and security oversight had not yet been fully addressed, but stressed that one of the key objectives of digitalization was to protect the nation and put an end to practices such as forgery and the reporting of false information. He emphasized that integrating national databases and strengthening identity verification would enable the state to operate more efficiently, while also improving oversight of financial transactions through our relations with the rest of the world.
فيما يخص الرقابة الاقتصادية والرقابة الأمنية والرقابة هذه الأمور كذلك ما نطرق لهاش، ولكن هدف من الأهداف كذلك حماية الوطن، كذلك قطع الطريق لتصرفات سابقة في تزوير وفي إدلاء معلومات خاطئة إلى آخره. اليوم أعتقد أن نظام الرقابة بالنسبة للهوية تاع الشخص، بالنسبة للبطاقيات اللي ندمجوها في بعضها بعض، تخلي الدولة تخدم بكل راحة فيما يخص الرقابة نتاع سير الأموال وتبادل الأموال، وحتى بالنسبة لعلاقاتنا مع الخارج.
He added, although the President said that digitalization had to be accompanied by a highly accurate statistical system, underlining that without reliable statistics the country's objectives could not be achieved. He noted that Algeria must know that what it consumed, disposed of, or wasted, adding that planning, imports and production should be based on accurate data rather than arbitrary decisions, stressing that everything had to be digitalized.
هذه الرقمنة لازم كذلك تتبعها منظومة إحصائيات دقيقة جدا. بلا إحصائيات كذلك ما نمشوش بعيد. إحصائيات اليوم لازم نعرف واش رانا نستهلك، واش رانا نرمي، واش راني نبدر، واش راني كذا، حتى التخطيط تاع الاستيراد وغير الاستيراد والإنتاج وكله يمشي بأرقام، ما يمشيش قال حسب كذا وحسب كذا، كل شيء يكون مرقما.
Inder Ibrahim here in Algiers, the president officially inaugurated the new headquarters of the Ministry of Housing, Urban Planning and the city. The president described the completion of the project in such a short period as a remarkable achievement. He said that the ministry now had the tools needed to focus on Algeria's urban development following the construction of millions of housing units. He praised the project as an achievement that honored both the country and the sector and wished those involved continued success.
وإنجاز المشروع في ظرف قصير جدا. أعتقد أن اليوم وزارة السكن يعني صبحت يعني لها أدوات باش تسمح لها بالتفكير في العمران في الجزائر، في البناء، في بعض الملايين السكنات. إذن الشيء اللي وصلتوا ليه يشرف البلاد ويشرف القطاع بالطبع. ألف مبروك للبلاد وألف مبروك للقطاع. شكرا. الله يفيك.
Meanwhile, in Myanmar, the suburbs of the capital, President Tebboune inaugurated the Omar Boujellab Specialized Hospital for Pediatric Cardiology and Cardiac Surgery, an 80-bed facility that is Algeria's first fully digitalized hospital. Equipped with 7 specialized departments and a training center, the hospital will also provide advanced care through telemedicine. The president described the new hospital as a major achievement, saying Algeria had made giant strides in the healthcare sector over the past year, from the opening of the Severe Burns Hospital to the inauguration of the Pediatric Neonatal Surgery Hospital. He said the country's healthcare system was making remarkable progress and expressed hope for even greater achievements in the future.
فريمون صراحة السنين الأخيرة هذه انطلاقا من المستشفى تاع الحروق البالغة إلى وصول إلى مستشفى جراحة الأطفال عند الولادة، يعني خطوات عملاقة تخطوها الجزائر. قطاع الطب في الجزائر أتمنى المزيد.
The president said he believed Algerian physicians were in some cases better qualified than their counterparts in certain European countries, noting that this had been acknowledged internationally. He encouraged medical teams to continue their efforts until no Algerian would need to travel abroad for treatment, regardless of their condition. He said receiving treatment at home close to one's family was a matter of national pride and dignity rather than money, describing the new hospital as another milestone in the country's achievements and congratulating all those involved.
أعتقد أن المستوى نتاع الأطباء نتاعنا ما في بعض الأحيان أحسن من مستوى نتاع بعض الدول الأوروبية، هم باعترافهم هما. يعني أنا نشجع كل الأطقم الطبية المواصلة حتى نصل إلى 0 جزائريين يمشوا للخارج مهما كانت الأمراض نتاعهم، يتمنوا يتعالجوا في بلادهم مع ذويهم. يعني قضية نيف، ماهيش قضية فلوس ولا قضية درهم، قضية نيف يعني باش ما يمشيش. لأن مبروك علينا هذا المستشفى، لبنة أخرى تضاف. مبروك علينا مبروك عليكم. الله
In Rahmaniya, within the new city of Sidi Abdullah, President Tebboune inaugurated the Ahmed Talib Al Ibrahimi urban housing complex comprising 1,000 or 10,507 rent-to-own homes and officially launched the 2026 National Housing Distribution Programme, which will deliver 179,168 housing units of various types across the country. Speaking on the occasion, the President praised Algeria's achievements in different sectors, saying they were a source of national pride and reflected the efforts of those who remained faithful to the legacy of the country's martyrs. He stressed that a large share of the state spending is devoted to social priorities, particularly healthcare, housing, education and training, adding that this approach has helped place Algeria among the world's more advanced socio-economic countries, according to international organizations. The President of the Republic also laid the foundation stone for the Algerian Institute of Cell and Gene Therapy, a center dedicated to treatment, research and training in regenerative medicine and biotechnology, and for a 10,000-seat performance hall in Lafayette, a major cultural project aimed at strengthening the capital's cultural infrastructure. Regarding the institute, the President expressed his full support for the project, saying no resources should be spared to ensure its completion. He voiced confidence that the project would be completed within a year to 14 months and called for the mobilization of the necessary qualified personnel. He congratulated both Algeria and all those involved in the project.
أنا نبارك في مشروع مثل هذا. Faut pas lésiner sur les moyens. طارق, moi je suis sûr qu'il va le réaliser في ظرف عام وشهرين ولا. Vous avez votre hôpital, Inch'Allah. Il faut commencer à mobiliser les cadres. مبروك علينا, مبروك على الجزائر.
That was the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune. The head of the Council of the Nation, Azouz Nasri, has highlighted in Cairo, Egypt, the deep-rooted nature of general democratic practice in Algeria through the strengthening of the rule of law and institutions, in line with the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune's commitment. Mr. Chatri has more details in this report.
Addressing the 19th session of the Parliamentary Assembly of the Union for the Mediterranean on behalf of the Speaker of the Council's Vice President and head of the Algerian Parliamentary Delegation, Salah Rkik, said that Algeria was continuing its path of development and renewal thanks to the skills of its youth. In this respect, he recalled the country's recently held legislative elections supervised by the National Independent Election Authority, which coincided with the celebration of the 64th anniversary of Independence Day. Mr. Nasri stressed the profound historical significance of Independence Day, paying tribute to the Algerian people's sacrifices that led to the edification of an independent, sovereign and stable state, and stated that Algeria, led by President Tebboune, was undergoing a profound transformation towards a diversified economy driven by digitalization, technology, renewable energy, artificial intelligence and the potential of its youth. The head of the Council of the Nation underscored the role of diplomacy in settling conflicts and building peace, while underlining that diplomacy is of a great importance for the Middle East in striving to ensure the implementation of international laws and charters. He called for the enforcement of international law, reiterating that peace and security cannot prevail unless a just settlement of the Palestinian issue is reached through the implementation of the two-state solution, providing for the creation of an independent Palestinian state with occupied East Jerusalem as its capital.
And as mentioned earlier in our headlines, the Secretary of State to the Minister of Foreign Affairs in charge of the National Community Approach, Soufiane Chaib, is taking part in a working visit paid by the African Union, EU High-Level Ad Hoc Committee on South Sudan C5 to Juba, South Sudan. The two-day visit is part of the following up of the outcome of the meeting of the heads of state and government of the AU High-Level Ad Hoc Committee on South Sudan C5 held in Addis Ababa on February 15, 2026, attended by Prime Minister Sifir Riyeb as representative of the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune. It also translates the EU's effort to support the peace process in South Sudan and assist the implementation of the revitalized peace agreement, particularly in light of the deadlines set for the completion of the transitional period and preparations of the country's first general elections since independence. During the visit, the committee's delegation members will hold a series of meetings with the government officials of South Sudan, as well as with the various stakeholders involved in monitoring the peace process. The UN High Human Rights or the UN Human Rights Council has expressed concerns at the escalation of violence in Sudan and called for the setting up of an inquiry to look into the situation in El Ubaid in the central region of North Kordofan, which has been besieged for several months now by the Rapid Support paramilitary forces. More details in this report by Masoud Sharfi.
In a resolution adopted by consensus by its 47 members, the UN Council expressed its deep concerns at the imminent risk of large-scale atrocities perpetrated by the rebel forces, including sexual abuses, to which hundreds of thousands of civilians are subjected to. In this respect, it condemned the airstrikes targeting civilians and civilian infrastructure, notably the drone attack launched for the past 2 weeks against hospitals and health centers, causing human losses and undermining the access to essential services. It ordered the International Independent Fact-Finding Mission set up by the Council in 2023 to urgently investigate violations of the international humanitarian law and related crimes that could have been carried out in the area. The UN Council stressed that there were no military solution to this crisis in Sudan, reiterating its call for an immediate and unconditional ceasefire and for the setting up of an inclusive and credible political transition process due to culminate into a democratically elected national government. This came as the UN and several non-governmental organizations had been warning for several weeks against a possible attack to be launched on Al Ubaid, similar to that aiming the western town of Al Fasher in Darfur, which fell into the hands of the paramilitary forces last year. According to the UN, thousands of people have been killed and millions of others displaced since the conflict broke out in 2023 between the Sudanese government troops and the Rapid Support paramilitary forces.
4 Palestinians were killed and several others wounded in airstrikes launched today by the Israeli army against the central part of Gaza City and Khan Yunis in the southern part of the Gaza Strip. The news agency WAFA stressed that the bombardments targeted a vehicle in the area of El Mawasi, west of Khan Yunis, and hit a building southwest of Gaza. Meanwhile, UNICEF affirmed that unless the Israeli bombardment were stopped, protection cannot be provided to children in the Gaza Strip. Addressing newsmen, the UNICEF spokesperson deplored the inhumane situation of children, for whom she stressed horror has become common. This came as the Israeli occupying forces pursued their operations in the West Bank, which is regularly confronted to attacks launched by Jewish settlers. 9 Palestinians were today arrested during operation launched by the Israeli army in various governorates of the territory, including Nablus and the occupied East Jerusalem. With this last piece of news, we come to the end of our news bulletin. Stay tuned to Radio Algeria International.
Hello and welcome to your weekly program Technoverse and the Science Planet on Radio Algeria International. As countries around the world work to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and combat climate change, much attention has been given to renewable energy, electric vehicles, and green hydrogen. But another technology is increasingly becoming part of the global conversation: carbon capture. Rather than replacing fossil fuels altogether, carbon capture aims to prevent carbon dioxide, the main greenhouse gas responsible for global warming, from entering the atmosphere in the first place. Supporters see it as a way to reduce emissions from industries that are difficult to decarbonize, while critics argue that it should complement rather than replace the transition to cleaner energy. But how does carbon capture actually work? Can carbon dioxide really be stored safely underground? And what role is Algeria playing in this evolving field? In this episode, we explore the science behind carbon capture, its opportunities and challenges, and Algeria's experience and ongoing efforts in this important area of energy transition. To understand carbon capture, we first need to understand carbon dioxide, or CO2. Carbon dioxide is a natural part of Earth's atmosphere and plays an important role in supporting life. Plants absorb it during photosynthesis, while humans and animals release it through breathing. The problem arises when large amounts of carbon dioxide are produced by human activities, especially from burning coal, oil, and natural gas for electricity, transportation, and industry. These additional emissions trap heat in the atmosphere, contributing to global warming and climate change. Carbon capture is a technology designed to reduce these emissions. Instead of allowing carbon dioxide to escape through factory smokestacks or natural gas processing facilities, specialized systems capture the gas before it reaches the atmosphere. There are two terms often used in this field: carbon capture and storage, or CCS, refer to capturing carbon dioxide and storing it permanently underground. And there is carbon capture, utilization and storage, known as CCUS, goes one step further by allowing some of the captured carbon dioxide to be used in industrial processes before any remaining gas is safely stored. The process can be understood in three main steps: capture, transport, and storage. First, carbon dioxide is separated from other gases produced during industrial activities such as cement manufacturing, steel production, electricity generation, or natural gas processing. In the next step, the captured carbon dioxide is compressed into a dense fluid and transported, usually through pipelines, although ships or trucks can also be used in some cases. And finally, it is injected deep underground into carefully selected geological formations, often several kilometers below the Earth's surface. These rock formations have trapped oil, natural gas, and other substances for millions of years, making them suitable for long-term carbon storage. Not all captured carbon dioxide is stored immediately. In some cases, it can be used to produce synthetic fuels, certain chemicals, construction materials, or beverages. However, experts note that these applications use only a relatively small share of captured carbon dioxide compared with the volumes needed to significantly reduce global emissions. For many scientists, carbon capture is particularly important for industries where reducing emissions is especially difficult, including cement, steel, and chemical manufacturing. These sectors require high-temperature industrial processes that cannot always be powered by electricity alone. Although carbon capture has been studied for decades, its large-scale deployment still faces important challenges. One of the biggest obstacles is cost. Capturing, compressing, transporting, and storing carbon dioxide requires advanced technology and significant investment. As a result, carbon capture is currently more expensive than many other methods of reducing emissions. Another challenge is infrastructure. Carbon capture requires pipelines, storage facilities, monitoring systems, and suitable geological formations to safely contain carbon dioxide over the long term. Scientists also emphasize that carbon capture is not a substitute for reducing fossil fuel consumption. International organizations, including the United Nations and the International Energy Agency, generally view carbon capture as one tool among many, alongside renewable energy, energy efficiency, and cleaner technologies to help reduce emissions, particularly in industries where alternatives remain limited. Despite these challenges, governments and energy companies around the world are investing in new carbon capture projects, while researchers continue working to improve efficiency and lower costs. In this global context, Algeria has practical experience with carbon capture and continues to explore its role within broader decarbonization efforts. One of the country's most notable achievements was the carbon storage project in In Salah, where carbon dioxide separated during natural gas production was injected into deep underground geological formations. The project, carried out between 2004 and 2011, is widely recognized as one of the world's early industrial-scale carbon storage initiatives and provided valuable scientific and operational experience. Today, Algeria continues to integrate decarbonization into its long-term energy strategy. Sonatrach has announced several initiatives aimed at reducing greenhouse gas emissions, improving energy efficiency, lowering methane emissions, and studying carbon management technologies. In recent years, the company has also strengthened international cooperation through agreements with foreign partners. Among them is a memorandum of understanding signed with Germany's VNG AG to explore cooperation in areas including carbon management, methane emission reduction, green hydrogen, and other technologies supporting the energy transition. These initiatives reflect Algeria's ongoing efforts to strengthen technical expertise, expand international cooperation, and assess the potential role that carbon capture technologies could play in supporting lower carbon industrial development. Many experts believe carbon capture will not solve climate change on its own. Instead, it is increasingly viewed as one part of a broader strategy that includes renewable energy, hydrogen, energy efficiency, cleaner industrial processes, and innovation. The future of carbon capture will depend on technological progress, supportive policies, continued investment, and international cooperation. It will also depend on ensuring that captured carbon dioxide can be transported and stored safely while remaining economically viable. For Algeria, continued research, international partnerships, and experience gained from previous projects provide a foundation for evaluating how carbon capture technologies may contribute to future decarbonization efforts alongside the country's renewable energy ambitions. Carbon capture reminds us that tackling climate change is not about relying on a single solution. Instead, it requires a combination of technologies, innovation, and international cooperation. While renewable energy and green hydrogen are reshaping the future of power generation, carbon capture offers another approach, helping industries reduce emissions where cleaner alternatives are not yet fully available. Algeria's experience in carbon capture, together with its ongoing international cooperation and decarbonization initiatives, reflects its continued efforts to support lower carbon industrial development while contributing to broader climate objectives. Thank you for joining us as we explored the science behind carbon capture and Algeria's role in this evolving field of energy innovation. You have been listening to Technoverse and the Science Planet on Radio Algeria International. Stay tuned.
استمعوا إلينا لنقل المعلومات من مصادرها الرسمية وتفسير حي للأحداث في حصص تحليلية مميزة. إذاعة الجزائر الدولية، صوتنا في العالم.
الدولية فترة إخبارية صباحية ثرية ومتنوعة.